Welcome back, Deadheads, to another Fear the Walking Dead review. This one is for Season 4, Episode 4, Buried. This is just a quick live stream just by myself again, just to give you, ladies and gentlemen, just kind of my overall thoughts on the episode last night. This one was a pretty good episode. Actually had some really great things going on in this episode. It was kind of a 50, I want to call it a 50-50 episode, and what I mean is I loved 50% of this, where 50% of this was stellar, amazing stuff, and 50% was not so great, and they could have probably done a little bit better with. But let's start out as we do, like, in no special guests living or of the barley and hops, unfortunately, right now. This is just a quick review, like I said. But we're going to start with just kind of going back from the beginning. This is full spoiler alerts, Deadheads, for everyone involved. There's some major things that happened in Fear. I'm just pulling up the chat real quick. I just want to make sure if there's anyone in here or not, because that would, it's nice interacting with the Walker horde. Let's see. Okay, so just in case I have the chat pulled up. And okay, perfect. So yes, the beginning. Okay, so full spoiler warning, like I said. So last week, we had the major death, the biggest death that we've had since Carl in The Walking Dead, but more importantly, since we're talking about Fear the Walking Dead, since Travis from season 3, I believe it was the second episode. So we got and there was still some chatter back and forth. Did they really kill Nick? Is he going to survive? Even with everything out there, all the information that Frank Delaney, the actor that played Nick, no longer kind of wanted to be in that role. He wanted to go pursue other things. So the new showrunners, and I guess even the old showrunner, granted him that wish because he wanted off the show. He's young, he's promising, I guess. He's pretty good as far as an actor goes, but in this role, I think he was absolutely fantastic. And it is kind of heartbreaking to see that he's no longer going to be on the show. But it is what it is. So they did wind up killing Nick. I just want to do something real quick. Sorry, everyone. Live. Oh, hello. Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone and anyone can hear me. Everyone on the interwebs could hear me. I apparently think too much of myself. But yes, it picks up there. It picks up from the kind of aftermath of his death, and he's kind of laying down with a sheet over his face in the car, and all. Actually, it had a nice little montage, now that I think about it, of Luciana. She shows full on. It shows her stabbing Nick in the side of the head to make sure that he doesn't turn. That was an interesting scene. They kind of put the sheet over him, and they put him in the SWAT car. So they're all kind of sitting there, and it's Strand, Alicia, and Lucy at this point, and they have decided that they want to go ahead and go forward with Al's video diary. And even Al's just like, maybe right now is not such a great time to do this. Your brother, your friend, your boyfriend is literally right there. Your foot is touching him right now, and his dead body's jumping on you, on the hard bumps of the SWAT car. But they said, nope, let's go ahead and do it. Let's do the interview, the video review of Nick's life. And this is where it just was weird. I don't know. I don't know if I liked the setup of this. It just seems like every episode is trying to figure out some clever way to present more flashbacks. And yes, Madison's featured again prominently, and like we've discussed, or I've discussed on these reviews for this season so far, it is kind of teasing that Madison might be dead at this point, although I don't think she is. I think she is alive and well, because I do think that, after seeing the confirmation of Nick's death and just how the show's kind of shaking up, and another nugget of news that we'll get to kind of towards the end of the review, I still feel like this is the last season of Fear the Walking Dead, and no one's confirmed this. If anything, it's the contrary. People are saying that this might be the setup for years to come. This is a new soft reboot of the show, and it's turning into a damn hard reboot of the show. But it just feels like it's coming to a close with these characters, and there are some callbacks and stuff, and in Alicia talking to Naomi a little bit, later in the episode, does kind of explain a time where she went off and did something, and Strand kind of is eking out some of these things. So it's not like they're completely omitting any of the events that's happened in season 1, 2, and 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, but it just feels like they're just kind of wrapping things up for, definitely Madison's family and the entire group that's still alive. But jumping ahead a little bit, this was kind of the tale of three tales, so to speak. This episode was the video diary of Strand, Alicia, and Lucy, and it was three different stories showing you a specific day of where it all changed, and it was very kind of TV shows, just Strand. I mean, literally TV show. It was shot like a TV show, like a news show, of Strand saying, "Oh, you think you know how this is going to turn out, but you're not." It's just like no one talks like this in the real life. They amped up the drama cheese on this episode, especially when they were cutting from the flashbacks to when they were sitting in the SWAT car, when they were telling the story. They just, like, no one talks like this. Like, everything that, like Lucy just like hard stares at Al and the camera, and she's just like, "We never should have opened that book." It's just like all these things were just so kind of over the top and a little bit ridiculous. I have to give credit to Alicia. Her real name's escaping me at the moment, but I have to give credit to her, because her performance in that scene when they were doing the interview was a little bit more subtle, a little bit more muted, where it wasn't so overly dramatic like Strand, or melodramatic like Lucy's was. But starting from Strand, I guess we could talk about it in the segments, because it really was a segmented show. Starting talking about Strand's, he and the gentleman that there's obvious attraction between the two. They go out on a mission, and there were some cool Walker moments. We saw his love interest, a guy, almost got eaten a couple times, and I didn't buy that was going to happen. But we saw the cactus Walker, which was the cactus cooler, which I'll say that was pretty cool effects. I mean, and at this point, it almost feels like Greg Nicotero is doing the Walker effects on this show. I don't know if he is or not, but in those other 3 seasons of Fear, it always looked like almost Halloween makeup, and it was what regular Walking Dead was always on a different level of effects wise and makeup wise as Fear was. But now all the Walkers in Fear look just on par, if not better in sometimes, but pretty much on par. I mean, they look fantastic in the regular Walking Dead. I don't want to talk bad about that for no reason, but they look absolutely on par with the Walking Dead Walkers, and the effects and the makeup are spot on. This particular Walker pops out of a corner with a bunch of cactus quills stuck in her face. That was pretty cool. And she knocks him over, and then we got some good drama with that, some suspense, and they wind up cleaning out those Walkers pretty easily. But that guy had a couple of quills in his arm, and I'm just like, oh shit, are they going to, I thought it was going to be something like what we just saw with All Out War, where the saviors went ahead and dipped all the weapons in Walker goo. I'm thinking, if these quills are stuck in the Walker's face, is that enough to contaminate it if they transfer the quills onto Home Dude's arm? And I'm like, he's itching that arm a lot. It's like, yeah, I've been kind of poked by a cactus before, and I know it gets really irritated, especially when you poke the needle out, or take the quill out, because it is like serrated. You didn't know you're going to get a cactus biology lesson, but here it is. Jonny Walker's a botanist. No, not at all. But, I thought that might be a route that they were going to do something like a Tobin death, where they were going to have these quills be contaminated and have Strand's love interest, get sick and die. Maybe it still does happen that way, maybe in next episode, who knows? I don't know, but it would seem pretty interesting if they decide to go that route. But moving along, and this is they jumped, back and forth between the three stories, and I just want to kind of keep it concise. So the moral of the Strand and Homeboy story is the guy kept saying, and I'm sorry, I keep forgetting his name, the character's name, but he keeps saying, are you afraid of me? And then it's just like, and then Al breaks the fourth wall. He's like, were you afraid of him, Strand? No, I wasn't. It's just like, what? Okay, so obviously we're seeing this as a flashback, but that means like in actuality, he's narrating every bit of dialogue to Al and the video diary. I just thought that was kind of silly, where he's just like, and then we walked into a room and I looked over and he said, are you afraid of me? And I said, and then she interrupts and said, were you afraid of it? It's just like, that was just so kind of ridiculous how she breaks out of that, out of the flashback to talk about their dialogue. I was just like, ugh, okay. You don't have to make it seem like he's telling every single detail. I've seen flashbacks like this before. I know how they work. It was a little silly, is what I'm trying to say in a long-winded kind of way. But towards the end of that arc, Strand basically tells Homeboy that he kept him at a distance. He wasn't afraid of him or his feelings or whatever, and he felt mutual attraction and feelings back for him. But he didn't want to go ahead and do that because he didn't know the real Strand. And once he showed him who the real Strand was, he got completely rejected. And I like the way they kind of set that up, because Strand takes Homeboy to the back of an Explorer and he's got a month's worth of food for two people, dinner for two for an entire month, dinner for one for if you bring it back to the Diamond, like they said. But I liked that, because he even said, I knew you weren't going to come with me. He's just like, okay, if you want to know me, you want to get to know me, you want to do this thing between us, you have to accept that I'm kind of an asshole. I'm a self-preservationist, if that's a thing, if that's a real word. And I am giving you kind of the golden ticket here. Jump aboard. You get, tall, dark, and handsome. Then you also get a month's worth of dinner. And of course, the guy said, no way. There's people starving to death back home. I believe in that thing. And I like that Strand's just like, I knew you were going to do that. So he kind of knew that he was going to reject him. So it was almost like it was a test. I wonder if Home Dude was on board and he jumped in with Strand and they left, if Strand would have wound up going back to Madison anyways, because he always finds his way back to Madison and doing the right thing. He just always does it in this roundabout Strand asshole-ish way. So I like that, where he's like, yeah, I knew you were going to say that, because it was almost like, that's what he wanted to do the whole time. So he decides to say, we get a lot of Nick and Lucy, even though that Jack Delaney's off the show, they must have shot a lot with him, because I think, and I even read from the articles with the showrunners that he is still going to be heavily prominently featured in the flashback segments. So, and that's interesting, because I figured if that was the case, if we were still going to get a lot of on-screen Nick time in the flashbacks in the Diamond, I thought it was just going to be in the Diamond, where they could have shot a couple scenes for a couple, or scenes in the Diamond for a couple days and break them up to make it seem like it was a bunch of different days in the Diamond. But this was a whole new location. They go to a library because, and it's just kind of, this whole thing was just giving validity to his relationship with Charlie, and why it wasn't so sudden, where it's just like, oh, we found this little girl, oh, she turned out to be a mole, oh, she killed me. No, this gives a little bit more backstory to why Nick had this connection with Charlie. He was almost obsessed with getting her back over there, because Nick's an addict, right? So Nick not only was clean from being a drug addict, but when you're an addict, you have obsessive kind of behavior, where that's where it was with the farming for him, where he was planting all these things and that didn't work out. So when you're an addict, you have to jump on something else to become obsessed with, and that the object of Nick's obsession, which is so weird thinking about it now, ultimately was his doom. It wasn't the drugs, that he was addicted to. It was this new obsession of this little girl trying to care for this little child. And that was the, addiction in the end wound up killing Nick. I just gave myself chills. That was that was pretty good, Jonny Walker. Just totally joking. And it's just literally me talking to you guys. But no, but I mean, it really is. If you think about it, he was the one that you know, wanted to get this library going. He wanted to, he told Lucy, you know, it's not just all about food. Yes, food is very important. We need to eat, we need to survive, but we also need something to fight for, and that's books, that's normalcy, that's things in everyday life that make everyday life distracting from, you know, reading a good book. I've read a book for, you know, 8 hours straight and ate very little, because you get so immersed in some story sometimes, and that's it, you know, that you need that kind of brain food, not just actual food. So I totally got where he was coming from. She just wanted to kind of peace out. They find some Walker librarian in there, you know, it was kind of a metaphor of giving up. That person, male or female, wasn't sure, slit their own wrists and bled out. And then they find a map, and Lucy basically says, wherever I point to, that's where we're going to go. And that's where we got the overly dramatic thing about, you know, where they're going to go on the map. And it's like, I wish I wouldn't open that book. It's just like, but that's why you were in there anyway. I don't know. I couldn't stand that part. And then last but not least, going to Alicia's arc. It was basically Alicia and Naomi was the most fun. This was the part of the episode. I give this, I said 50-50 episode. It was more of a 60-40 because of how much fun the amusement park was, the abandoned, dilapidated water park. Oh man, this was great. And we saw a lot of these scenes of them walking through this kind of parking lot, and with the water slides in the background. We saw a lot of these scenes in the promo right before. It was like, you know, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before Fear the Walking Dead season 4 premiered. We saw a lot of these scenes of them walking around this place, and man, was this cool. They're just walking around, a bunch of people, you know, everyone's dead. There's some back and forth between Naomi and Alicia's character, not too much. And then they find, you know, where the walkers are in the pool, in the lazy river. And man, they took some risks. I thought this was, I don't know, I thought this was a little stupid. Like, everything in this scene was great and fun and exciting and really different. But the decision making was kind of dumb. Like, they look up and they see, and the way they shot it was weird too, because they look up and they see kind of if you've ever been to a water park, you know, at the top of these slides, there's these little kind of command towers where an employee stands, and then that's where, you know, kind of the line ends, and you jump on the slide. And so there was one of those up there, and it was all kind of curtained off. Only curtained off in some places, which I'll get to in a minute. But you know, but all you could hear is walker noises. And the way they shot it, they looked up and they made the walker noises louder when they looked up. So I'm just like, so a bunch of people went up there and died. And then that's where all the walkers are. So let's go up there. But, you know, I guess they're just like, oh, they must have made an outpost, and then they barricaded it, barricaded the stairs for the line. So I'm just like, okay, but it's probably whoever went up there is either dead or something. So it's kind of dumb to go up there, you know, especially if that's your last stand, that's where you're going to live, is on top of a tower. You know, you're going to run through food. You're going to run through your supplies pretty fast. It just seemed like it was a lot of risk for very little reward, which it turned out to be kind of the opposite, or at least it was pretty rewarding. But just getting there, them going through, and obviously Alicia wasn't going to die because she's sitting there telling Al the story of this day. But there was some really good suspenseful scenes in here. In the pool, Alicia drops her knife. Naomi kind of kept struggling to get up on the slide. I thought maybe Naomi was going to die. I thought, you know, wow, bringing someone, an actor. It's not like she's, you know, someone, not Tom Cruise or anything, but, you know, Jenna Elfman, if you sign someone on like that to be a reoccurring role, you kind of want her for a little bit long. And I thought, wow, you know, she just might get pulled apart right here, right on this, at the end of this slide. But no, they get up. And then, okay, so then they're up in this little outpost, and I'm just like, okay, so, and they sit there for a while. They're looking. They're like, oh, we found some stuff, and they're looking through. And then you could and they look to the pasture, and they look in the distance of places that they want to go next, you know, to kind of get away from the vultures and to stay ahead of them. Cue the walkers coming. You know, I think there was like 2 walkers and there's this giant, gun on there too, which was pretty cool. But cue two random walkers, the ones that probably died up there, that was their last stand. They come and attack the girls, and I'm just like, okay, hold on a second. There's no, it was roped off in some places like a canvas kind of curtain, but if there was any kind of sound, that those two walkers that were sitting up there would have fallen off, or taken the slide down, like no questions asked. How the hell did those walkers just kind of stay there and wait like a walker trap that was very quiet, by the way? That's only in like a 8x10 space. So when the girls got there, these walkers gave them a good like 2 minutes to look around and rummage through before they attacked him. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought that was really stupid, but it did push him to my favorite part of the episode, where they kind of struggled and then they went down the slide into the Royal Flush. And I've lived in Vegas, for 22 years right before moving to Seattle. I've been to Wet and Wild. I've been on that Royal Flush ride. Oh my God. How like that just like killed me when you think about, because what a Royal Flush ride is it's the water slide. And then at the bottom, there's this big bowl with a hole in the bottom. And you literally, it's a Royal Flush. You're like a turd, like in a toilet, where you go down the water slide, then you kind of circle the bowl a little bit until you plop out, just like a turd. And how cool is, there was a lot of need of a plumber for that Royal Flush ride, because there was walkers everywhere in that thing. And some really cool walker effects. There was one kind of younger guy walker or younger lady walker, whatever. It was vicious. It was jumping at her. It looked like it was maybe more freshly dead or something, because it had some energy. And even like Naomi was just like, damn, this walker could jump. He got the leaps. But yeah, that scene was awesome. It explained Alicia's that gun cylinder that's all sharpened now, but we don't get to know why it's sharpened, because that comes later. Like it's a huge thing. But cue another episode of a huge flashback of just them sharpening Alicia's gun barrel. But whatever. But yeah, that scene was great. They wind up killing everything. They go back up to the area in that slippery slide. They find provisions, they find medical supplies, and then Naomi decides to hit the bricks and take off. She jumped in the car. It didn't, the Range Rover didn't have gas in it. But then, that's when Alicia kind of explained to her that that she was in that place before, and she kind of understood. She didn't even try to beg her to stay. She just said, hey, you don't know everything. We might make it in the diamond. We might not. I'll give you help to get going, because I did that. And if you have to do it, do it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey, I do got some chat people. Thought Factory. I agree. The tension was nice on the slide. Yeah, it was. Surviving the park took. Oh, Langalea says surviving the park took dedication. Like what you did there. Is the Walking Dead here? Walking Dead, and then Felix is looking for my sister. No, Walking Dead doesn't look like she's here, but I'm sure she will watch the video. I love me some Walking Dead. But yeah, thanks. I wasn't expecting anyone in the chat, but thanks everyone for coming in. But yeah, just rounding, and that was the three, and kind of the summation of those three different through lines was everyone shows back up the diamond, everyone does the right thing, and that is the moral of the story for this episode, is we shouldn't have done the right thing. Strand should have been an asshole and took off with his new boyfriend. Alicia, I don't know. Alicia was going to go back anyways. I guess not be so hopeful. And then Lucy shouldn't open the map book with Nick. I don't know. But that's where they kind of found. They told Madison where to kind of go and forage next. And maybe that's when it goes down for real. There was a little scene when Madison exited. And this was kind of in the promo trailer last week for this week, where Madison goes out and talks to Mel. He offers her a hot dog, with the whole condiments. And that was a kind of an interesting scene, because it shows, Madison is still this kind of Mother Teresa, just like, hey, you could come in and join us. We're not joining you, but you could join us, type thing. And I'm sorry what happened to your family. And it looked like it started touching Mel a little bit. And I think this was the first time that Mel can confirm that Ennis was his brother. But yeah, it was like kind of a touching, extending the olive branch, so to speak. And then Mel just kind of shut it down, just said, oh yeah, in our last place, we lost everyone, but that's because we told them to stay put while a big forest fire came and wiped everyone out. So he very much solidified and kind of got rid of any questions that the Vultures are definitely villains. There was no kind of being the good guy at all out of these guys, out of Mela and this group. So that kind of squashed any of that. So yeah, that was, then they wind up flashing back to kind of the video thing with Al. And again, it was just a little weird. Like I like Al I love all three new characters. I think Morgan, definitely isn't really a new character, but new to this show. I like Al a lot. She's probably my least favorite of the three new, transplants for Fear. But her arc is just a little bit unbelievable at this point, where it's like people are in crisis, people are losing their brothers, all this stuff. Even though she gave him an out and said we could do this later, but then she's very persistent and very much digging into stuff, and I don't know, it was just a little bit weird, that arc, her whole arc and her whole angle right now. And I'm sure hopefully it pays off and it kind of makes sense, but it does kind of take me out of the believability. And then there was a quick back and forth between John and Morgan. Morgan basically, saying, sorry, John, I'm going to hit the road after we bury Nick, which they arrive at the place, the Nick burial site, which turned out to be just a gun cache, and they're all going after going after the Vultures now. So I did think that we might get away from an all-out war kind of confrontation, but I guess it's The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. You need PvP action. I guess it's Fortnite all over again. We're gonna have our good guys go fight the bad guys, hopefully in a riveting way. I don't know, but then the big kind of last shebang, after they do bury Nick, and there was a real nice I liked that scene a lot. I like the tree they buried him under. But the big thing, the big news there is that he figures out that Naomi is actually a Laura or whatever she was going by, and he finds her gun. And he kind of freaks out and he wants to go find her, but then they confirm that Naomi did not make it out of the diamond. So whatever big confrontation, we're going to get two confrontations, right? We're going to get to see the culmination of things, what happened at the diamond, and then we're also going to see what's happening now with our Fear survivors going against the whatever's left of the Vultures now. So that's interesting. Hashtag Charlie must die. But but yeah, it was John finds out the news that the person that he's searching for is in fact did not make it. So he goes out on his own, and Morgan, it looks like he changes his tune a little bit, and now we're gonna have little Morgan and John side story, and that's what it looks like it's probably going to shape up to be next week. It looks like John's going to be prominently featured, so we might get John's backstory now, which is fine. He's a riveting character. He even said he was a policeman, which was kind of cool. It was a nice Rick Grimes throwback. But yeah, also by Naomi being dead, I think that's cold for her changing sides. Yeah, for sure. Felix. But yeah, it's we're gonna get more flashback now. Now we're gonna get flashback for our main characters, and hashtag is Madison dead or not? I still think she is alive. I still think that she's going to be one of the few that they are going to bring back over. Morgan's going to bring back over to regular Walking Dead after this season. Maybe the season after that, but I don't think, unfortunately, even though I love it so much, Fear the Walking Dead is long for this world. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me in the chat, Langalea and Felix from Thought Factory. This was just a quick one, and real quick rating on this episode. Like I said, the cool stuff, like the water park thing, really escalated this episode up there. So I'm going to give it a 3.9 out of 5. Just like I said, super drama cheese in the SWAT car, which was just unbelievable drama cheese, which I didn't like so much. But Alicia and Naomi's kind of day at the water park was amazing stuff. The Walker effects with the porcupine Walker was cool. a lot of good stuff to be had, and I like the confirmation that Mel is a prick. But 3.9 out of 5 for me. Thank you guys so much, and gals, for joining me for this review for Fear the Walking Dead. We'll see you next week for the next review. Hopefully, maybe I'll have someone talking with me. It won't just be this ugly face. But until next time, Deadhead, spread the disease.